Number one is to avoid no answers. It's very important that we ask open-ended questions. Questions like, well, how did you get started doing that business? What's your marketing plan? What are you doing for social media marketing? What have you done so far to try to get this funding? Another thing that we need to make sure that we do, if we ask a yes or no question, we have to know that the answer is going to be yes, or we don't ask it. I've heard people say things like, well, are you familiar with iBank? We don't want to ask that. They might not remember. I went to a restaurant a couple of months ago with my wife, and she had asked me if I've been there before. I said, no, I didn't think I had. So I looked at the menu, and I remembered what I had last time. And another thing is, if we ask, are you familiar with iBank? They might want to hear it from a person. And we've been very high-tech in the past. High-tech is cold. They might want to hear it from a live person, you. Number two is to know what you're selling. Customers aren't going to buy from you if they don't think you're competent. In fact, they think iBank isn't competent if you can't portray confidence and competence. It's okay to say, you know, that's a great question. I don't know the answer, but I'm going to find out. And as long as your follow-through is really detailed and you get back to people, they respect it and they're going to buy based on that. Now, another thing is Google is your best friend. If you don't know, just ask them who, what, how, why, where, when. Get them to talk. And as they're talking, be an active listener, but you can also Google things and get answers. Number three is to read, relate, and relax. Read the customer's tonality, their word choice, their voice fluctuation. This is going to tell you how anxious they are to move forward, and a lot of other things. You're going to be speaking to all different types of people, and I'm going to give you 5 different examples of different types of people and different dynamics of the conversation. The first type is you're going to talk to somebody from New York, and their head's going to be this big. You're going to have to talk to them on their level because they want to get right to the bottom line with the bark off. And then you're going to talk to someone from Louisiana. And I used to live in the South. You've got to slow it way down and ask them questions about themselves to relate on their level. You're going to talk to someone from Minnesota in the winter. And I'm from Minnesota, I can vouch for this. All we want to talk about is ice fishing, and you've got to control the conversation and bring it back to business. It's a very different conversation when you're talking to somebody who needs $5,000 for their John Deere tractor for their lawn care business. And then to talk to someone who needs $45 million for a rare gem mine in Alabama. Number 4 is hot buttons. Now there's a big difference between amateurs and professionals. Whenever a customer asks a question, whatever that question is about is a hot button, and we want to push it. And asking questions is not something we should be fearful of. It's something that should really excite us, because the reason a prospect is asking is it's probably really relevant to their situation. A few examples of hot buttons that we get often are, well, what are your rates and terms? The reason they're asking that is because it's probably really important to them to get very competitive rates. So instead of being scared of that, we're going to say, you know, I'm glad you asked. It's one of the best things about us. And they go into your rebuttal. Another one is, well, are the lenders going to use my personal credit? The reason that they're asking is they're probably concerned that they've got a really good credit score and they don't want it to be tarnished. Or on the flip side of that, and this is the majority of business owners, they've got terrible credit. And they're wondering if that's going to be a factor in them not getting the funding and if they can't move forward. So again, we get excited. You know, I'm really glad you asked that question. It's a great question. And then you respond. Another one is we'll get people that say, well, how long is it going to take to get the funding? Again, it's not something to be fearful of. They're asking because they probably have a very urgent need to move forward. So then we give the rebuttal and we get excited about their question. Number 5 is to always be closing, the ABCs. Now, a sale never starts until the first no. It's when the game begins. In fact, 64% of all sales happen after the 4th no. We know it's coming, so we've got to be prepared for it. Your close must end with either a question or a command. Number 6 is taking control. If it's in the customer's best interest, then assume the sale and tell the customer what's best for them. In fact, I love the metaphor of the doctor. If you go to the doctor and you're sick, they're not going to say, take this pill 3 times a day if that's okay with you, if you're comfortable with that. No. They're going to say, look, take this 3 times a day or you're not going to get better. Number 7 is to assume the sale. And this means to speak in language as if they've already moved forward. I'll say things like, when you're speaking to the lenders, again, I'm already assuming that they're going to move forward with me. Number 8 is the Jones effect. And we all know this, keeping up with the Joneses. My neighbor gets a new sports car. I want a sports car. And it's that concept where you want to jump on board with what others are doing. When you hear everybody's doing it, it makes us want to do it too. Well, that being said, I'll give you 2 examples. Which one is more enticing? If I say, hey Jim, you want to go to the game later? Or if I say, hey Jim, we're all going to the game later. You want to come? Of course, the second one. iBank's Jones effect is we've got 600,000 business owners who have used us before. You need to too. Number 9 is being indifferent. When you're indifferent, you're confident. Nobody wants to buy from somebody who's desperate. We have to have the mentality that we certainly want your business, but we don't need it. We've already got 600,000 clients. Number 10 is the fear of loss. I can't think of any better example than Black Friday. And people go crazy and they camp out overnight. In fact, my wife pulled me out at 4 a.m. to go to H&M. We had to be one of the first 100 in the door to get the deal. Otherwise, it's that fear of losing such a great deal. Number 11 is to create a sense of urgency for the client. Put a timer on it, otherwise they feel that they can do it at any time. One of the things that we do is we find out at the beginning how fast they need to get the funding. We know it takes about 1 to 3 weeks to get that on average when they're speaking with the lenders. So make sure that we create that sense of urgency. And if we know they need it for payroll and they say, well, I want to mull it over and think about it, what are you talking about? We have to move forward right now. You don't want to call me back tomorrow. You want to call the lenders directly because they're the ones that can get you this funding. Number 12 are 4 different types of people. Now, the first type I like to consider as the hard nose. They're very unreasonable. They're the type of people that you're in a group and you all go to the restaurant of their choice and they're still not happy. I mean, you know the type. I recommend strongly when you run into someone who is grilling you before you even tell them who you are or what you're calling about, respectfully get off the phone. You don't need to deal with them. We don't want them as a client because the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, says that they're going to be the 80% of our headaches. So again, respectfully exit the call. Second type of person is someone who's business minded. This is your serial entrepreneur. I love dealing with these people, and they're the type where if you show them that the juice is worth the squeeze, they're going to sign up. And they're very logical in their decision. Third type is it's about timing. Many times they have a lot of urgency to move forward. And they're happy that you called because they were just about to go to their local bank to go talk to them about getting the funding. Show them how easy it is to sign up and the ease of getting funding without even leaving their office. And they'll sign up. And the last type, type 4, is they're your friends. Not yet anyways, but they're gonna be your friends because they're buying because they like you. Maybe they like that I'm from Minnesota. There's something that you've connected with them and that's why they're gonna move forward. Number 13 is building CPR, meaning creating a personal relationship. There's a lot of ways to go about this, but if a customer doesn't feel like they like you or if they can trust you, they're never gonna buy from you. So a lot of ways to do this is business owners typically are doing a business that has something to do with their hobby or their passion. And with that, ask them really good, effective questions. And if you connect on something, or you've had a history that connects with something that they've done or they are doing, that's a really effective way to go about it. Number 14 is body language. Now, this is critical on the phone. I get people saying all the time, well, we're on the phone. Well, why is that important? It's important because our brain is so smart. 90% of it is subconscious. 10% is logical. Well, you can sense, you can feel, you can hear when somebody's slouching. In fact, you probably can tell I've got a little bit of a different tone right now. Action precedes the feeling. When we don't feel like smiling, smile. Guess what? You're going to feel like it after that. So with that, it's all about the shoulders. You can be leaning forward and still portray confidence. You can be sitting straight. You can lean back. But if you're slouching, it's not going to work. In fact, if you're excellent with your sales techniques, but you have bad posture, you're going to get mediocre results. Number 15 is doubt and option words. Doubt words are words that are not positive, and option words are words that give an option instead of taking control. Doubt words are great examples of reactive language, which is never good. We want to respond, not react. Some examples of reactive language and how to make these sentences positives are, oh, there's nothing I can do. Change it to, let's look at the alternatives. Well, that's just the way I am. Change it to, I can choose a different approach. He or she makes me so mad. Change it to, I control my own feelings. They won't allow that. Well, change it to, I can create an effective presentation so that they'll allow that. If you can change these words into choice words, instead of negatives, people are going to buy more often. Now, I love this last example. If somebody says, I can't do it today, most people want to say, why can't you do it today? Instead, say, why is it that you choose not to do it today? It's a choice. Now, I might not have the liquid funds in my account right now to do it. They might be tied up in marketing or some other thing, but it's a choice. I could go sell my iPhone. I could go sell my car on the corner, my Google Nexus tablet. Now, that might not be a good, intelligent business decision, but it's a choice. So again, why can't you do this? Change it to, why do you choose not to do this? Now, option words are words that we want to avoid. Examples are, well, if you would like, what do you think? Does that work for you? Is that okay? Assuming the sale helps eliminate these words, and instead of asking, does that work for you? Instead, use stronger language and say, that works for you, right? This will help the customer make their mind in the direction that you've already chosen for them to go. 16 is positive affirmation. This is a secret with a lot of self-made millionaires. And if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else is going to either. Whether it's a prospect or someone that you're trying to lead. It's all about building your self-worth and what you feel about yourself. In fact, Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, who wrote the book, The Power of Positive Thinking, talks about this, and I love the quote that he gives. He says, we spend so much time within ourselves, we might as well get something from the relationship. I find that really interesting. Everybody's got self-talk. Well, what are you telling yourself? In fact, if you look at the golf legend, Jack Nicklaus, one of the things he does is he envisions every shot before he actually takes it. So you can actually see him, if you're watching him, eyes kind of glaze over, and he's watching the shot in his mind before he ever takes it. He sees where it goes, how it lands, and then he actually takes the shot. So what do you think about most? Because that's going to become your reality. Are you thinking about success and pushing through? Or are you thinking about the challenges and the negatives that you're running into? Tell yourself every morning that you're the best in the office, that I'm the best in the company, I'm the best in the nation at this. And you're going to start to believe it. Your confidence will start to rise. It's a very powerful thing. Number 18 is rejection. Get used to it. It's part of life. In fact, you're going to be driving home today. You're going to hit a red light. You're rejected. It's not personal. That light doesn't know you. So we have to realize that in life, If someone says no and they're qualified, it's because of one of two things. A, we haven't built up enough trust with that person. Or B, we haven't built up the value of what we're offering. I wanted to touch on hard work because it's very important. If I'm working 12 hours a day and you're working 8, it's not a big difference. 4 hours. In fact, there's a book by Jeff Olson called The Slight Edge, and he talks about these slight edge decisions. Well, if you look at that, the extra 4 hours, that's 50% more activity, 50% more results, 50% more success than the other guy. Are you outworking your competitors? Next is voice tone fluctuation and pace. On the phone, using a low, slow tone is 6 times more effective. When we get nervous, we talk really, really fast and we go up with our pitch. So we've got to avoid that. If you sound boring, people aren't going to want to listen to you. In fact, there's something called the impulse curves, and it talks about how we're going to crescendo our fluctuation, tonality, our energy. So when I start out, I'm going to sound very professional with that low, slow tone. This is Eric, Director of Business Development at iBank. But if I started the conversation, hey, this is Eric with iBank, they're not going to want to talk to me. In fact, they might pick up their stuff and run away. So with that, when we start to talk about their business, start to get a little bit more excited. That's an exciting thing. But then, when we start to talk about the benefits that our product or service does for them, I'm out of my seat excited. I can't hardly wait. And we know enthusiasm sells. So your goal is to say the exact same thing to every single customer, but to sound completely original and make the customer feel special and important. Stick to the script and you won't kill the sale. This is going to take a little bit of time to understand what is too much information and knowledge, but just understanding the concept and keeping it top of mind is going to help you with that. Next is kiss versus kill. You want to kiss every customer. Keep it short and simple. Don't keep it long and lengthy. Customers need the bare minimum. In fact, if they have questions, they're going to ask. We know that 64% of the time they're going to say no 4 times and have other questions or objections before they say yes. Now, if you give the customers too much information, they could get bored. You can hear the business owners typing on the computer. You've already lost them at this point. Another thing that you can hit on is something that could be a red flag that wouldn't be a red flag if you hadn't brought it up. Don't cause doubt that's not there. If you stick to the script, you won't kill the sale. Keep to the bare minimum. This is going to take a little bit of time to understand what's too much information, but just understanding the concept and keeping it top of mind is going to greatly help you with this. Next is to have fun. This is probably the biggest secret in selling. If you enjoy what you do, you're always going to do your best. Make it a game. Make it a pastime. Make it fun with yourself. Now, there's 2 different types of motivation. Some people are motivated within themselves, where I did X amount last week and dang it, I'm going to beat that this week. Other people, like myself, are very competitive with others. If you tell me that you did 12 sales last week, well, guess what? I'm doing 13. So find out how you're motivated and talk to your manager or your coach about how to set up some goals and some systems and some incentives to really push yourself that's catered to you. People pass off energy to others. And if you're not showing a positive attitude and enjoying what you do, you're not only doing a disservice to yourself, but the people around you. You owe it to yourself and you owe it to the people around you. The last thing I wanted to talk about is the law of averages. Success is a numbers game in anything that you do. The more shots on goal, the more goals. Larry Bird, the NBA great, understood this. In fact, back when he was in middle school, he used to go out before school every single day and shoot free throws. 500 of them. It's not a surprise why he's such a success. Now, we have to understand that in all things, we will increase our percentages in our success with volume. The more dates, the more successful dates. The more calls, more decision makers, the more pitches, more closing statements, the more revenue. One of the things that we have to keep in mind is what we lack in skill, we make up in numbers.